welcome again, grade 8 students. So today we're going to discuss probability. So what is probability? So let's answer or give the definition of probability. So it says there, probability is a measure or estimation of how likely is that an event will occur and can be expressed as a fraction, decimal, or percent. When we say probability, it is a measure or estimation. So when we say estimation, we cannot say that it is the actual measure of a certain event. So it says there, it can measure how likely is that an event will occur. So again, there's uncertainty when it comes to measuring, when it comes to probability. So again, it can be expressed as fraction, decimal, or percent. But most of the time, we're going to use fraction in determining the probability of a certain experiment. Next, what do we mean by experiment? Okay, it says there, experiment is a process that has a number of distinct possible outcomes in which the result cannot be predicted with uncertainty. So in short, when we say experiment, it is the process that you are going to use for you to obtain a distinct possible outcome. So again, which the result cannot be predicted with certainty. So meaning, when we say experiment, it is a process that you will use to have a possible outcome, wherein that outcome, again, is uncertain. So there is no certainty, and again, it's only a prediction. So what do we mean by outcome? Okay, it says there, outcome is any possible result of an experiment. Again, when we say outcome, it is any possible result. So if you're going to execute a certain experiment, then you will have an outcome. Therefore, we call that as the result of an experiment. So later on, we're going to discuss further what do we mean by these terms. Next, we have the sample space. So what do we mean by sample space? So it says there, sample space is the set of all possible outcomes or sample points. So if you will have an experiment, then the set of all results or outcomes is an example of sample space. So meaning, it is also a set of sample points. So meaning, every sample space, there will be a sample points. So it is denoted by capital letter S, and the number of sample space is denoted by N of S. So meaning, when you see this type of denotation, meaning you're talking to number of sample space. Next, we have here sample point. So sample point is one of the possible outcomes. So please take note of this one. When we say sample point, it is just one of the possible outcomes. So let's say, for example, you have an experiment, you have a lot of results or outcomes. When you will get just one of the results, then you call that as sample point. Okay, so next we have the what we call event. So what do we mean by event? Is any set of one or more outcomes satisfying some given conditions or simply a subset of sample space. So when we say event, it is the set of one or more outcomes. So meaning you are just determining what you want to get from that experiment. So meaning you need to have satisfied some given conditions for you to say that it is an example of event. So again, for the event, it's just a simply subset. So when we say subset, we can get an event from a sample space. So that's what we call event. Okay, and next one, let's have an examples. So let's say your mother gave you a 5 peso coin. So that's what you see there from the picture here. Out of curiosity, you toss it once. So meaning you tossed the ones that you see there in the picture. That's an example of tossing a coin. So out of curiosity, we all know that a coin have two parts, which is this one is the head, the ones with the person's face, and the other one is the tail or the back of the coin. So let's determine what is the experiment based from the problem. So the experiment is tossing a coin. So that's the process that you use to get a certain result. So again, the experiment is tossing a coin. Next, for the outcome, we have either a head or a tail. Of course, when you toss a coin, you only have two choices or two results, and that would be head or tail. So you cannot have two choices at one time. It should be either head or tail. Sample space. So we have all of the possible outcomes, and we have two. Of course, we have the head and tail. So that's your sample space. Sample point, just get one from the sample space, and in my case, I will get head as the sample point, wherein this head came the from the sample space here. So I chose head from the sample space to get a sample point. Next, so the question is, what is the number of sample space? So how many results are there, or how many sample space or sample points you can get from the sample space? So in our case, we have head and tail. So we have 1 and 2. So therefore, number of sample space or N of S is equal to 2. Okay, let's have examples. Another example, let's say you are rolling a die. This is what is being shown here in our figure. So you're rolling a die. What is the probability of getting a number less than 4? So as we all know, a die, by the way, when we say die, it's just a single term for dice. When you say dice, it's 2 or more. So when you say die, it's only 1. Okay, so the question is, what is the probability of getting a number less than 4? Though, so this is just an example of question, but we're not going to answer it, but we're going to identify the experiment, outcome, and so on. So let's proceed. Again, our experiment would be here. Experiment is rolling a die. The outcome or the results that you can take from that experiment is any number from 1 to 6. So we all know that in a die, there are 6 faces, and wherein those faces have number of dots from 1 to 6. Next, sample space, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are the numbers that you can get from rolling a die. Next, sample point. So just get one from the sample space. So in this case, I chose 3. So therefore, the sample point is 3. And for the event, based from the question, you're going to get numbers less than 4. So again, this event is taken from the experiment. So meaning you want to get a certain result from this experiment, and that result or that event would be getting numbers less than 4. Okay, so we have here another examples. So let's say here we have our experiment, flipping 2 coins. So we've already tackled this one, but for the first example, we only have 1 coin. So in our case here, we are going to flip 2 coins. So therefore, you have 2 heads and 2 tails there. So this will be your sample space. For the first toss, you can have heads, head tail, tail heads or tail. So these are the 4 sample points from the sample space. And for the sample point, just get 1 from this sample space. So therefore, I will get HH. Next experiment, so procedure again is rolling a die. So we're done with this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be your sample space. And sample point, just get 1 from this, so you have 5. Next, rolling a coin and die simultaneously. So meaning you will roll a coin and a die simultaneously. So most probably you will get this one. Head 1, head 2, head 3. So again, the head is from the coin and the 1 is from the face of a die. So head 1, heads 2, heads 3, head 4, head 5, head 6. And here we have tail 1, tail 2, tail 3, tail 4, tail 5, and tail 6. So for the sample point, just get 1 from this sample space. So therefore, you have T3. Next, another experiment is drawing a card from a deck of 52 cards. So you already know what are those cards that you can get from drawing a card. So we have diamonds, hearts, spades, or clubs. So our sample space will be 13 diamonds, 13 hearts, 13 spades, and 13 clubs. Those are the ace, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the jack, queen, and king. So, just get the sample point. So, you will get king of hearts. Next. Okay, so this is an example of a deck of cards. So, we all know that there are 4 types of cards there, which is the clubs, the spades, hearts, and diamonds. And we have ace to king. So, this is an example of an event. So, you just want to get a king from the deck of cards. So, therefore, you only have 4 kings here. So, that's an example of an event. Getting a king from the deck of cards. Okay. This will be our next topic to our next video. See you again. Goodbye.